Well, that was fast. The West was having fever dreams and fantasies that Putin was about to be overthrown in a civil war. Yes, they called it a civil war, actually. Russia was about to fall. The very same coup strategy that worked in Ukraine in 2014 to install a puppet Western government would also happen in Moscow. NATO would be in control of Russia in a few days with a puppet government. Victoria Nuland would get to pick out a new apartment in Moscow. It was all very convenient. Instead, the coup has collapsed and forces are leaving. Patrick Lancaster just arrived in Rostov-on-Don and filed this report.
I'm Patrick Lancaster, and right now we are in the center of Rostov-on-Don, Russia, with a special update for Redacted. And right behind me, you see a Wagner tank getting ready to leave the city of Rostov. We're in the middle of this for you, to show you exactly what's happening. The forces into Rostov and took control of part of the city here in the very center. Not all the city, but part of it. We've been trying to cover this from a distance as we've been driving 10 hours to get to this place right now to show you what's happening here on the ground, because the Western mainstream media won't. And we're here to see the Wagner forces, the tanks, the trucks, the vans leaving the center here.
Well, that didn't work out like they'd planned. Who was behind it exactly? We can't say for sure. You be the judge. But all the signs point to a highly sophisticated information warfare campaign by the West to help bring down Putin, now that that military spring offensive has failed. Former UN Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter just explained this morning, quote, "This strategy hinged on a very sophisticated information warfare scheme, which simultaneously sought to suppress and discredit narratives which sustained the official position of the Russian government, while building up covert agents of influence within social media outlets deemed to be influential among the Russian public. Using these channels, the pro-Ukrainian practitioners of information war began promulgating narratives intended to highlight the failings of the Russian government, and more specifically, persons close to President Putin who were affiliated with the special military operation. By focusing their angst on what these channels were highlighting as the failures of the SMO, the information warfare practitioners were able to wrap themselves in the mantle of patriotism, claiming only to be looking out for the best interests of Mother Russia, all the while denigrating the character of the constitutional government." That's powerful stuff. And he goes on to say, quote, "Prigozhin's antics, which were played out in intimate detail on social media, caught the attention of pro-Ukrainian information war specialists who began promoting the narrative of Prigozhin, who's a former convict with zero political experience, assuming a leadership position in Russia. And then even CNN had to admit that Prigozhin was an egomaniac."
Prigozhin is, I would say, not just a time bomb, but he's a free-floating electron. He's all over the place. And the ego is off the chart. It's narcissistic.
And the timing is amazing. The Pentagon on Wednesday announced a $6.2 billion accounting error to Ukraine, and then less than 72 hours later, there's a coup against Russia.
We have confirmed that for FY23, the final calculation is $3.6 billion, and for FY22, it is $2.6 billion, for a combined total of $6.2 billion. These valuation errors in no way limit or restricted the size of any of our PDAs or impacted the provision of support to Ukraine.
I don't believe in coincidences, but the timing is impeccable. I bet they really wish they could get their money back. Now, to bring you up to speed on all of this, on Friday, the head of Russia's Wagner army, Prigozhin, a man who, by all accounts, is a tool of the West, creates a false flag event saying Putin's forces attacked his position. Russia says that didn't happen. That's ridiculous. In fact, the plan was to roll 25,000 troops of the Wagner army into the Russian army. Prigozhin doesn't like that idea. He wants to be in charge. He's got the backing of NATO and the United States. Then Prigozhin calls on the Wagner army to march to Moscow. Putin calls it treasonous. Mutiny, calls for the traitor Prigozhin to be arrested.
Anything that can be used and is being used to subvert us from within. And therefore, any actions that split us is a betrayal of your people, betrayal of the comrades that are fighting on the front line, a knife in the back of our people.
And then about 2 hours later, it's all over. Videos emerge showing the Wagner army embracing citizens, yes, hugging and celebrations on the street, taking selfies before heading back to their field camps. Prigozhin gets exiled to the allied country of Belarus, where he's going to be protected as a free man by all accounts, and perhaps he'll get to live out his days. And the plan failed. Even Zelensky's top advisor in Ukraine, Podolyak, released a message wondering why Prigozhin didn't follow through with the plan to continue on to Moscow. Hey, you didn't follow the plan. So Ukraine is pissed. Prigozhin let us down. You let NATO down. This might be the shortest failed coup in history. Not exactly what the West was hoping for. The situation was resolved without anyone being killed. An agreement reached that the Wagner forces would return to their camps. Some of them would sign contracts with the Ministry of Defense if they wished to become part of the broader Russian army. As for the rest of the fighters, will they be prosecuted? We don't know at this point. But in other words, we identified the rats, the traitors through this event. We identified those who were not loyal to Russia, they'll say. This is very similar to what happened after the war started. Those who weren't loyal to Russia left, and many in Russia said, hey, fine, good riddance. But of course, over the past few hours, the Western media wanted you to believe something entirely different. This was the greatest threat to Putin in history, they said. The Western media wants you to believe that what you saw over this weekend was Russia collapsing, a civil war. See this as a clear sign of Putin's failure, they said. What we're watching is Putin on the brink. Yes, multiple newspapers saying this is Putin on the brink. Or my favorite headline, Putin has suffered a mortal blow. Yes, he was mortally stabbed. He's dying right now. So we're watching something very big indeed happening, but it's not exactly what you'd think. These are the last desperate throes of a Western hegemony trying anything they can do to stop the inevitable. And we are at the most dangerous point in this war right now, the chaos. There's nothing more dangerous than a person losing power. They do crazy things. Sentiment has changed, and the West knows this. Last year, across most of Europe, when you traveled to the major cities, you would see massive amounts of Ukrainian flags being flown everywhere, on street signs and on bars and outside of streetlights, all over the place, subway stops, train stations. This week I was in Lisbon, Portugal, an area once had many, many Ukrainian flags all over the place. Guess what? They're all gone. The massive Ukrainian flag that hung above the port in Cascais, gone. Ukrainian flags in the train stations, gone. The billboards telling you must support Ukraine. These were in intersections and roundabouts, gone. Now that the spring counteroffensive has failed, the West is getting dangerously close to making a massive mistake. Overnight, Putin threatened the United States, don't you dare try to take advantage of this coup and do something stupid. So we are at the most dangerous moment in this war right now. Either the West comes to the peace table and admits defeat, or takes the next step to launch new attacks inside of the Russian mainland with long-range weapons. And that appears to be what they're planning. This is, in fact, the most dangerous moment in this war so far. That's the news update for now. Now here's the sponsor for today's special video, Atlas Salt. Now pay attention to what I'm about to show you and why I think this stock could take off. Again, this is my opinion, but it's based on some jaw-dropping facts, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and you'll see why that I'm super impressed. Here is their stock ticker on your screen right now, Atlas Salt. This is REMRF. Now write this down. Yes, it is a salt company. It's the only pure salt company that I've ever planned to invest in because of what I'm about to show you. And it's the only pure salt play in all of North America. Honestly, I've never seen a company like this. And we've been doing our due diligence on this company for the last few months, and I want to summarize it for you now, if you'll let me. So first up, with all of the chaos around the world right now, I'm investing in hard assets, minerals, commodities, gold, silver, not pie in the sky stuff or big ideas. I'm investing in actual minerals and those hard assets right now. And yes, they are a salt producer that's used in de-icing American and Canadian roadways. You don't get more salt of the earth than that right now, if you'll forgive me the pun. Right now, North America gets most of its de-icing salt out of North America from other volatile jurisdictions around the world. And they need mining to start happening in North America in order to produce all of the de-icing salt that America and Canada needs right now. The demand is actually off the charts. So the first reason I'm so bullish on this company is that Atlas Salt has full ownership over a massive salt deposit called the Great Atlantic, which is a premier undeveloped salt project in North America. It's the only one. So let's start with that piece, okay? And if it gets advanced to the production stage, and there's no reason that it won't get advanced to the production stage, Great Atlantic is poised to become a state-of-the-art salt factory, thanks to its shallowness and its location, making it the first new underground salt mine in North America in more than 20 years. So that settles that part of it. The second reason that I'm so bullish on this company is the team behind the project, which is about to take the Great Atlantic Salt Deposit to production. The president of Atlas Salt is a man by the name of Roland Howe. He's nicknamed Mr. Salt. Seriously, Google Mr. Salt and his name, Roland Howe, will pop up on your screen. The reason is because he's already done this successfully before. He took another massive salt project called the Goderic Project in southern Ontario and turned it into the largest underground salt mine in the world. That company, Compass Minerals, got listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Again, you can look all of this up and verify it for yourself. So this team knows exactly what they're doing. And right now, Atlas is the only pure salt play in North America on the North American Stock Exchange. Also, when you dive into the research like we have, you'll see that the Great Atlantic Salt Mine stands alone. There's no other deposit that could soon bring road salt to the market in North America. And you'll also realize that all of the other mines are antiquated. They have a lot of older equipment and they are in need of repairs and maintenance. So they have a big modern advantage right now over these other much older mines, many of them built in the 1960s. The Great Atlantic Project is advancing through its pre-feasibility study and moving quickly towards becoming the first North American salt mine in more than 2 decades. Also, I love what Mr. Salt, Roland Howe, just said about this project. He said, quote, "After 30 years in the salt business, I can state unequivocally that the drill hole CC-9B, the one that they're focused on, is truly extraordinary in terms of its shallowness, thickness, and grade profile," he said, underscoring how Great Atlantic is the premier undeveloped salt project in North America. I love his confidence on this. He knows what he's talking about. He's done it before. Another reason I love this investment right now is the share price. It's trading at just 82 cents a share, which is down 75% from its all-time high over $3. So this is an amazing entry point on this stock right now before this mine starts producing. So it hasn't started producing yet, and you know that I love to bring you these companies before they start producing. That's when we could see the potential for the share price to skyrocket after they start to pull the minerals out of the ground. Again, I do this with all sorts of commodities companies that I invest in. I want to invest before they announce drilling results, before they start going into production. So guys, again, here is their stock ticker on your screen. It's trading at 82 cents a share. Do your own due diligence on this stock. I'll have links to their website in the description below so you can do your own research and you can see what I see. Look into this massive salt project and see if it's a fit for you. And again, we'll see you next time, everyone.